Welcome to Effortless English. In today's conversation, I talked to my mother about some of the problems that immigrants and international students and visitors to the United States often have when they try to communicate with Americans. We begin the conversation talking about a co-worker of my mother's. My mom works in a dental research lab, and she works with a lot of doctors and dentists who are from other countries.
Now, he does get a little stumped with, I forgot what the English word is, kind of the slang that we use.
Uh-huh.
He gets, like someone will say, oh, he got cold feet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He doesn't. He thinks his feet are cold.
Yeah, those are hard in all languages, it's because they're metaphors basically, and
right,
you gotta know what they mean. Spanish has a decent amount of those also. So
oh, they do.
Yeah, and well, there's a guy this guy that I work with, this guy Steve Kaufman, who he speaks 9 languages. He's got this internet learning site. But he really makes the point, and he's totally correct, that really in a language you have to learn phrases, not so much individual words. Individual words will only get you so far.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and after that you've got to learn phrases. That's how you learn the grammar. That's how you learn the slang. So it's really the phrases are the most important block of language that you've got to focus on. And most people focus on just the individual words, and they struggle because of that.
There's so many of them. There's so many of them that it's very confusing. Mm-hmm. And I think I told you one that it wasn't Dr. Soda, it was a Japanese one, student we had, and Sharon said that her sister had a lead foot. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I tell your class that.
That's great.
Sharon goes, she just turned and stood there for a minute. She goes, "Oh no!" Oh, yeah.
He just drives fast. She drives too fast.
Yes.
Yeah, and see they never learn that stuff. That's the problem. All these English schools in America and Canada and Japan, they're teaching them this kind of very formal, written style of English
that nobody here speaks.
Nobody speaks, and even if they've studied 8 years in Japan, they majored in English in university. That was their major, and they've taken it since middle school and high school and all through college. And they come here, and then they're always shocked that, oh my God, I can't have a conversation with any Americans here. What have I been doing for the last 8 years?
Right.
And because they never learned the real language that everybody speaks. Not like teenager slang, not special slang.
Right.
But just the stuff that everybody knows.
Right.
If you're grandma's age or my age or you're a teenager, there are certain idioms and phrases that we all use. It's kind of this, they learn this kind of very formal dictionary English. Mm-hmm. And just no one speaks like that. Right. I still don't understand why all the textbooks are designed that way and all the classes are designed that way. And yet no one actually talks that way. It's just kind of a... Actually, I'm starting a website. In fact, I'm recording your conversation. I forgot to warn you.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'm going to take little pieces like our conversation, maybe what this topic, and maybe about Sigmund, and I'm going to transcribe them. I'm going to write them down, and then I'm going to define all the, like lead foot. I'll use that one, and I'll describe what that actually means. So my hope is that students, anywhere, they can go to my website, and then they can listen to these conversations, and they can learn, the real English that we use, the idiomatic, normal speech. Mm-hmm. And I'm recording conversations with Kristen. I recorded some with Tiffany, because they so desperately need that. It's just really sad. It's really sad when I see my students come to San Francisco, and they've had all this English, and they think they're really advanced, and then they're isolated. They don't make friends. They get really frustrated and upset because they struggle with just everyday conversations with people. It's kind of sad because, they come here with these dreams of making all these friends and getting jobs here and going to university, and then and they think that's going to happen quickly, and and that's when they realize, wow, all this education I've had, they weren't teaching me anything useful. It's not totally not useful, but there's a lot they missed. And then they come here and people say, "Hey, what's up?" And they're, "Huh? What?" No one says. No, very few people actually say that whole sentence. "Hi, how are you?" Maybe in a kind of formal setting, maybe, but people are like, "What's up? Hey, how's it going? What you doing?"
Right. Yeah.
And they're just shocked that no one actually uses the sentence they were taught from middle school, and no one says it. That's the language learning system in, I would say, almost every country, but in Asia it tends to be worse. And it's this, they learn these canned kind of ways of speaking that are so unnatural. They're studying these textbook dialogues and scripts. And they memorize them by heart. Some classes they literally have to memorize these dialogues word for word and repeat them back. Okay, that's it for the conversation. Now let's review a few of the new words and phrases that you may have heard in this conversation. So going back to the beginning of the conversation, my mom was talking about some of her coworkers, some of the people she works with who are from other countries, and they have problems with certain aspects, certain parts of English. And she mentions that one of her co-workers, gets stumped with slang. He gets stumped by slang, or stumped with slang. To be stumped means to be confused. It means you have no idea what to do. So if you say, "Oh, I was stumped by the test question," it means you had no idea what the answer was. So stumped, it's a common phrase. Another phrase my mom used was, she gave an example of some slang. He got cold feet. Cold feet. And if someone gets cold feet, it means they change their mind. They decide not to do something. So maybe, for example, I want to go flying. I want to fly in an airplane. But I'm kind of scared of airplanes. So I tell everyone, I'm going to fly. But then at the last minute, just before I get on the airplane, I change my mind. I'm scared. I decide, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. We say, I got cold feet. It means, your feet are cold. It means so they don't want to move. They don't want to take you where you said you would go. So it means you suddenly decide not to do something at the last minute. And these are metaphors. I mentioned the word metaphor in the conversation. A metaphor is comparing one thing to another. So you might say, that man is a mountain, right? If he's a very big man, you might say, he is a mountain. So he's not really a mountain, but we're comparing him to a mountain. We're kind of exaggerating. It shows that he's very, very big. So a lot of slang in many languages, they're metaphors. Cold feet, that's a metaphor. Okay. Next, a little bit later in the conversation, I'm talking about how you learn a language, and I say, individual words will only get you so far. Will only get you so far. That's a common phrase, and it means it will only help you a certain amount, but it will not give you everything. So learning individual words, it will help you, of course. You will improve your English. But it will not get you all the way. It will not help you master English completely. It will get you to a certain level, but not beyond that level. To go farther, you need phrases. So learning individual words will only get you so far, not all the way. And then my mom says, yes, that makes sense. And that's a very, very common phrase. That makes sense. It means I understand what you're saying. It means that's a good idea. Something like that. Okay, and then later my mom, she kind of tells a